process must be transparent, must be free and fair.
In December 2007, Kenya stood at a crossroads. The country was preparing for one of the most competitive elections in its history. On one side was the incumbent president, Mwai Kibaki, and on the other side, a powerful opposition leader, Raila Odinga. The race was tight and the stakes were high, and the nation was watching. On December 27th, millions of Kenyans turned out to vote. There was hope in the air. For many, this election represented change, progress, and a chance to shape the country's future. But what followed would shock the world. As results began to trickle in, early tallies suggested that Raila Odinga was leading. His supporters celebrated, believing victory was within reach. But suddenly, the process slowed down. Confusion began to grow. Questions started to emerge about the accuracy and transparency of the vote counting.
In Georgia, the total number of votes obtained by all the parliamentary candidates is 85,000. The president has 100,000. Now it means 15,000 people voted for the president and walked away. They didn't vote for the parliamentary candidate. I mean, how is that possible?
Then, on December 30th, the Electoral Commission declared Mwai Kibaki as the winner.
The law says that the Electoral Commission must identify the person who is to be shown as a president because a fake one might come. Is Honorable Mwai Kibaki.
No clear explanation, no transparent final tally, and within less than an hour, Kibaki was sworn in for his second term as the third president of the Republic of Kenya.
Mimi Mwai Kibaki naapa kwamba nitatenda kazi zangu za urais kwa Jamhuri ya Kenya kwa uaminifu na kutimiza wajibu wa kazi hizo.
At night, in a rushed, low-key ceremony at State House, to many Kenyans, it felt sudden, secretive, and suspicious. That moment shattered trust, and by morning, the country had erupted into chaos.
This process must be transparent, must be free and fair. So what we are trying to do here is basically to help or assist the Electoral Commission to come out with a verdict that reflects the will of the people of Kenya. It is important that the Electoral Commission should not let the people of Kenya down.
Form 16A is a legal document presented by returning officers to us who are actually in charge of the process of tally. We do not add one vote above what was presented on the Form 16. We do not alter anything. We are expected to just present to the Commission.
This wasn't just an election result, it was the beginning of a national crisis. What began as protest soon turned into one of the darkest periods in Kenya's history. Across the country, clashes broke out. Communities turned against each other. Roads were blocked, homes were burned, families were forced to flee. The violence took an ethnic and political dimensions, making it even more dangerous and deeply personal. In places like Kisumu, protests were met with heavy police force. In the Rift Valley, entire communities were displaced. One of the most horrifying moments came in Eldoret. Dozens of people, including women and children, had taken refuge inside a church, hoping it would be a safe haven. But attackers set the church on fire, and many were trapped inside. It was a tragedy that shook the nation and the entire world. By the time the violence subsided, over 1,000 people had lost their lives. More than 600,000 people had been displaced from their homes. Kenya was bleeding. The country was on the brink of collapse. That is when the international intervention stepped in. Former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan led a mediation process between Kibaki and Odinga. Tensions were high, negotiations were tough, but slowly a path toward peace began to emerge.
The government must remain faithful, as I know it recognizes, to the values and spirit of the new constitution. Second, all Kenyans must be involved in turning its principles into practical policies. Third, Kenya's political leaders must place the national interest above narrow sectional or self-interest. Fourth, all civil society actors, including the business community and the mainstream environment.
In February 2008, a power-sharing agreement was reached. Kibaki would remain president and Raila Odinga will take on a newly created role, the Prime Minister. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it stopped the violence. It gave Kenya a chance to heal. And from that crisis came major change. The country realized that reforms were necessary to prevent such a tragedy from ever happening again. This led to the drafting of a new constitution, which was passed in 2010. It introduced major reforms in governance, the judiciary, and the electoral system. The events of 2007 and 2008 left deep scars.
Yani wakati walitangaza tu president fulani ndiye amepata kiti, hiyo wakati wa uchaguzi, hapo ndio kulianza vita. Sasa soko ndio ilipora hapo tu, watu wanavamia maduka wanavunja. Baadaye mimi sikujua kama sisi tutakuja kuvamiwa usiku, sisi tulichomwa usiku. Sasa baadaye visanga kufanyika mchana, sisi tulikuja tukachomeka usiku.
Kaiwa mgoyo wewe watobi utoenda mujio toikale oi toikwireza
kama mamako alikufia nini hizo inaitwa ghasia baada ya uchaguzi. So uliona hiyo akipigwa ama?
Niliona.
Mlikuwa nyumbani?
Nilikuwa, mamangu alikuwa anapika, ilikuwa masaa 7 hivi.
Kwenye alikuwa amerent.
Alikuwa anapika kwa
ambao sikuelewa mpaka saa hii. Walikuwa wamefunga vitu kwa uso. Every election in Kenya carries the memory of that period.
Na nilikuwa na watoto wawili, Sharon na Miriam. Kati ya watoto wa hiyo wadogo walikuwa kwa jirani. Na mimi tulikuwa
peace, transparency and unity must always come first.
Kuwe na tabu
hata vile
ilichomwa ikafanywa nini.
It was a turning point.
Tulirudi tukakaa pamoja, tukaenda showground, tukatoka showground tukakuja na mahema na tukajenga kanisa hili kwa hema na tukasoma wote pamoja.
To share, like and subscribe. This is Cash Media Kenya, bringing you the stories that matter.
And one day wish never